It's time to start your engines and be part of the conversation. You can always ask the experts, Raffi and Dan Rosenberg, because it's now time for Clutch Radio. The show starts now.
Did you see the intro today?
I did see the intro. I was thinking the same exact thing.
That was so weird last week.
I don't know what happened. We had a glitch in the clutch.
Glitch in the clutch. And definitely you didn't see it because you were talking.
Yeah.
And it didn't turn your audio off. So somehow you stayed. Yeah, that was weird stuff. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Clutch Radio.
You are here on
Saturday, February 18th.
Yeah. And for an hour, you get to ride the clutch.
You can ride the clutch. I posted a thing. There was a guy on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Oh.
And it said this was replaced in modern cars by fuel injection. And his answer was the alternator. So I just posted that because apparently he does not watch the show.
He needs to watch the show because everybody knows that the clutch was replaced by modern fuel injection.
Yes. Hello. That's why it's so important to know about this show.
I'm telling you, these highfalutin kids these days, they don't know what a clutch is.
We get highfalutin in every episode now.
What's that?
Every episode now, we get highfalutin in.
That's right. The answer is, of course, the carburetor.
Or the carburetor, as they say.
The carburetor, yes. Now, carburation has been around a long, long time. It basically has been on every internal combustion engine since the beginning of internal combustion engines. And there are some rudimentary carburetors that don't do a lot, but basically it's a bowl to mix the air and the fuel before it gets pulled in through the intake manifold to combust inside the combustion chamber. And that is the cylinder where the piston goes up and down.
Is it essentially a bong?
It is essentially a bong. That's another way of looking at it. Yes.
So we could just call it the gas bong.
It is a gas bong.
Or fuel bong.
Yes. And then, of course, turbochargers and superchargers, those accelerate the air and help to speed up that combustion process.
Well, I mean, I wasn't even expecting to get a lesson in carburation, and I'm glad we did.
Well, there you go.
And the good thing about this show is we don't really plan a ton. We kind of let the show grow organically, and it really helps if you post questions in the comments that we immediately find out what we need to talk about. Dan Lindquist says spray bottle is a good analogy for atomizing.
Yes, he's absolutely right. There are a lot of contemporary tools that are versions of a carburetor, and we can't get into the details of how air fuel mixture works in jets, but jet engines have a whole different series of sophisticated fuel mixture processes that occur because of the high speeds.
Right. And the occasional bird.
Yeah, an occasional bird. That's true. And
how come they don't hit more birds?
More birds strike?
How come that doesn't happen more often?
Well, because airports have been pretty vigilant with keeping birds away from the takeoff and landing area. Airfields, they seem to attract birds because they're large, vast open spaces that oftentimes will have grassy areas, and so it can be attractive to birds. One or two birds is not a problem. It's a series of them together in flock that will cause engine failure due to bird ingestion. When I worked at Boeing, we had an entire section dedicated to a cannon that launched chicken, basically. It was a chicken carcass into the fan blades of test engines to see how much impact those fan blades could take before there was a failure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you guys get like chicken salad like on Fridays? It was chicken salad day because everything got shredded through the.
No, we just had a lot of cleanup afterwards. But that area, that test area, was very well known for when people would come through in the engineering department, they'd stop and get that explanation. The other one, which is a little graphic, is the test section for the onboard lavatories, where they have to test the plumbing system. And guess what they use for that?
Chickens.
Dog food.
Ew.
Yes. Apparently the consistency and the cost.
So yeah, they're like, bring your dog today. No, really, bring your dog day. We really need you to bring your dog. And they all need to go crap over there.
Canned dog food is what they use.
Oh, canned dog food.
Yes.
Not dog poo.
No. Dog.
I thought you said dog poo.
No, food.
Food. Well, it all ends up being poo.
That's true. So.
Okay, well, that's kind of exciting. How do they test, like the human body? Like if somebody gets sucked into the blades, did they have like mannequins?
They don't. They actually don't test for that because the incident of ground injury due to jet suction it's nearly zero because, number one, the jets are not at high speed, so they don't have the suction. They're not moving, so they don't have the momentum. And so ground crew working around the engine nacelle, they're not getting pulled in, and they're all told, they're very specifically trained to stay away from that area when the engines are spooling up. But even still, when they're taxiing, the spooling suction is not significant enough to draw a 200-pound person in.
Well, there you go. It's amazing how we just did, our first 8 minutes based on a meme that I'll pull up now. The development of electronic fuel injection replaced the need for what part of a car engine?
Wow. And he had 4 choices?
4 choices, and he picked alternator.
It says fuel.
Yeah.
Why would the alternator have anything to do with fuel?
Well, he looks like a young kid that maybe never had driven a car yet.
That's probably true. But it's so funny, these game shows and the questions. It's amazing how much people know the answer when they're sitting in their home and they're not under pressure. If I was asked this question, I would probably have to seriously think about it to make sure I had the right answer before I said something, because you're under a lot of pressure.
And you'd be like, this is too easy. Wait a minute. They're trying to trick me. I think he was probably confusing the generator for the alternator.
That could be.
He's like, I know they replaced something in the old cars. There's something old cars have.
Yeah, but even a generator, you seldom replace the generator. You would rebuild it, because the internal components on a generator, the brushes, the armature, all that stuff, you could bench build. So you'd remove it from the car, take it apart. It was pretty obvious what needed to be done. And back in the old days, some people rewound the wire inside the generator to completely rebuild it. That's super old school rebuilding right there. And a modern alternator can also be rebuilt, but most people don't bother doing it. They just R&R the alternator. If you see that on your invoice, R&R,
rest and relaxation.
Rest and relaxation.
They lay in the back. They get a cigarette. They just sit there.
Yeah.
And wait for it to be delivered by Pep Boys.
It's remove and replace.
Oh, remove and replace.
Yes.
That R&R. Yes.
Yes.
When my dad had his auto parts store, he had an employee named Gary. And Gary took my dad was in an old gas station at one of his last store that he had. And only one bathroom worked. So the back bathroom, they turned into a workshop, and he would rebuild starters and alternators back there.
Yeah.
And they would sell things that were rebuilt directly by him.
Yeah. And if you,
excuse me,
usually those little shops, they would take the old one out. And if it came out of a 1955 to 1959 General Motors car, and you had one on the shelf that was already rebuilt, you wouldn't have to wait for the rebuild. You'd take that one, install it on the car, and then that would give the person back at the bench room chance to rebuild it at their leisure.
Or leisure, since we're going with some of the European, like carburetor.
Yes. But nowadays starters are very, very different and quite specialized. And they're actually, starter technology has come in a tremendous way since the 60s and 70s, even the 80s. 1980s starter is actually still very basic and very similar to a 60s or 70s starter. But contemporary starters now, they're going all the time because engines shut off and then start again. And these are much smaller units that have high torque and run thousands and thousands of cycles. An average modern car starter in 1 year will run what the average 70s era car ran the entire lifetime in start cycles.
Wow.
So it's quite impressive.
That's why I like my 79 car and my 84 and with the carburetors.
Yeah.
And with the old technology. I have to figure out how to adjust my carburetors, but we can discuss that later. Especially for Wednesday night, by the way.
Yes.
We do have a screening, what could be the last screening locally of the sitcom at the Roxy, the fabulous Roxy Theater in Bremerton.
Roxy Theater.
470 seats.
Wow.
And we're hoping to fill it.
We're a quarter sold out?
We're a quarter sold out, and it's free. So we just have to get the word out there. But we may bring the 79 Pontiac if we can get it up and running in time.
There you go.
It's been sitting for a while. But the heat works, the air conditioning works, but the carburetor, it might need an adjustment, and maybe you and I can discuss adjustments.
On a carburetor from that era, there's air fuel mixture and idle. So those are the only two. Idle is probably not the one that needs adjusting. What needs adjustment is the air fuel mixture, and it's fairly easy to do with the right tools to sort of measure. But
I picture you just going like this with a screwdriver and just being
you can do it that way too. Some people are quite skilled at that. I'm nominally skilled at that. I suspect Dan, our listener, Dan L, is probably quite good at it because his mechanical skills date back to when I think carburetors were part of his training. Although he's also got skills with fuel injection and diesel as well. So, but those are the only two things I think you really need to worry about. And chances are it may not be mixture based. It could be that it just needs a good cleaning.
I love a good clean. I like the good carburetor spray.
Yep.
Getting the gunk out of there. Oh, I love that.
You can run some carburetor spray through there and get it cleaned out and give it what's called an Italian tune-up, where you spray it down and then hit the highway.
Which we will be doing. Let's go to some comments real quick. If you have any questions, you can post them in the comments. Jake says, morning.
Good morning, Jake. Corvette Jake. Jake, you should change your name to Corvette Jake.
Corvette Jake. Our friend Norn Iron 01, our Irish buddy.
Yes.
Permission granted.
Permission granted.
Janice says, good morning. Janice will be at the show on Wednesday.
Oh, excellent. Good.
And she may want to be security because she did that when I did my comedy special. They had big VIP security badges.
Nice. But
it is Bremerton, and a lot of people are like, "Ooh," they're like, "Ooh, Bremerton's really nice now." Downtown Bremerton, where this theater's located, it's a revitalization area. Well, a nonprofit bought the building, bought the theater, and they're managing it now.
Well, and I think a lot of people too, especially on the island, they're used to going 6-8 miles to get to anything they might need on the island. The notion of going to Poulsbo, which is also 6 to 8 miles if you're on the north part of the island, but then to Bremerton is it's a whopping 22 miles. So
yeah, well, if you go by when I first moved here and I typed in Bremerton, I looked at it's like, oh, that's only 6 miles away.
Yeah.
I'd have to fly to get those 6 miles.
That's right.
Because you got to go all the way up and down and back.
That's
and then
right.
I thought, wait, do I have to go to Seattle, take the ferry to Seattle, then get on the Bremerton ferry and take the Bremerton ferry to Bremerton?
Well, we had, let's see here.
Ray says he's coming to the screening. Make sure you get your tickets, Ray. Yes, there is popcorn. It is a real theater. We do expect everyone to buy some concessions.
Yes.
That'll make the theater very happy. So please buy lots of concessions while you're there.
Yeah. So Dan, when we head over there, maybe we'll buy theater hot dogs and popcorn.
We could do that.
With I had a couple questions come this week. I get most of my questions ahead of time. People will send me an email or a text, and someone asked me a very good question, and this question has come up before. It says, I have a 2004 Mazda, and it's an MPV, which is their sort of smaller minivan. You might remember that.
Multi-person vehicle, I think. Multi-purpose vehicle.
Multi-purpose vehicle. And they asked an excellent question. They said, it's a V6. And they said, how soon should I get my timing belt changed? I took the car to a new mechanic, and they said, your car has close to 120,000 miles. And if the timing belt has never been changed, you should probably consider doing it. Now, what do you suppose the answer is?
Well, it could be make sure you have a belt, not a chain.
That's the first thing. Does that engine have a belt or a chain? The second thing is, if it has a belt, then the mechanic is right. By 120,000 miles with a V6 engine, it's a good idea to change that timing belt. Now, the timing belt will cost about $1,000 on a V6 to do, because once you've got that engine apart, you're going to want to do the water pump, because the water pump and the timing belt are usually in the same general location. And by then, with 100 and some thousand miles, it's a good idea to do it. Save a little bit on the labor cost, but it'll add a little bit more to your total cost. Now, once you've done the timing belt on the engine will last another 100,000 miles, no problem. The timing belt is made of synthetic material, so it can dry and crack and become embrittled. And you don't want that belt to break, because then that will cause your engine to fail. Now, depending on the design of your engine, you can have catastrophic engine failure if the valve train is connected to the total valve train is connected to the way the engine functions. Now, if you have a timing chain, a chain is a series of metal connections that are driven off of gears that will also run your engine. A timing chained engine will not require a new chain for 3, sometimes 400,000 miles.
Wow.
And may not even need a chain at all. You may have to do some chain adjustment as over time.
Sometimes the sprockets you have problems with, right?
Yeah, that just starts to lose a little material, and the tolerances break down. So you tighten the chain, and that can be done through some adjustment. But more often than not, that's not even required, as long as the engine has not been highly stressed for long periods of time. So whether it's a 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder engine, make sure, and most 4-cylinders tend to be synthetic belt, make sure that you know beforehand, because as it turns out, a 2004 Mazda MPV has a chain.
Now I'm getting it. I just got a text. Now this was not, he didn't comment, but he just texted me. A good friend, Carol 7, very funny comedian. He just wanted to know, why does Tony's voice sound so different, and why is he talking about timing belts? Well, the secret's out that Tony doesn't really have that voice.
This is Tony's voice. Tony's voice is very different.
Yes.
When I'm Tony, I try to channel him differently. It's very different.
And I also got, it's funny, with this whole, everything's happening at once. I also got a text from our good friend Chris. And he just sold the truck.
Oh, he did?
Yes.
Excellent. I'm hoping that went through with
I believe it
Janice's
did. Janice, you
husband.
can update us on that. I
All
believe it was
right.
Janice's husband that bought the truck.
Yes, and what's unclear as to whether or not that will be Janice's truck or it'll be her husband's truck. But that's great to hear. I'm glad we kept that local. Chris had a great Ford pickup truck, and great for yard work, hauling stuff around. Nice vintage, nostalgic sort of look and vibe to it. And Chris was done with it, so it was a great opportunity to hand it over to the next owner, and nice that we kept that local.
Yes, hopefully he's on his way back.
Excellent.
So what yes, Chris is fake Eric.
Yes.
Carol just texted me that. And Janice said, yes, everything is mine. Everything's coming together right now. All we need is where's Scott? Why is Scott not commenting?
Yes.
Or Rick Springfield.
Yes. Now all we need to do is find a car for Norm in
Yes.
Ireland.
Synchronicity is what Carol says this is.
Yes.
So I don't think Chris is watching because he just happened to text me, but he sent me a couple questions about the title,
Yes.
and I said, yes, sign here, sign here, sign here.
Yep.
And he goes, the guys asked me, is it V6 or V8? How do I answer that?
Oh, that's a really good question.
And I said, okay, lift the hood
Yeah,
and
good.
count the big thick wires.
Good
There's
for you.
9 of them. It's a V8 because there's one going through the coil. And if there's 6 of them, it's V6. I said, but I'm pretty sure they made that only in a V8 or a straight 6.
You are correct, Dan. Good for you.
And he sent me the picture, and I said yes. And I go, oh, by the way, this is so going to be an episode. And it made me realize, why don't we make Eric know nothing about cars?
That's a great idea.
He's been there 8 years. He knows nothing about cars. He's one of the top salespeople, but he knows
How do
nothing.
you know nothing of cars?
Yeah.
Of course, it's 8-cylinder. You count it 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side, 4 on the other side, 8-cylinder.
Yes.
But actually, to be fair, even if you look at a V6 engine, because the shape, the V inside the engine compartment, it could be V6 or V8. So it's a reasonable question. An inline 6 looks a little different because all the cylinders are lined up in line.
Right.
So
in line. That's fine. Yes.
Yeah. So there is some visual differences, but Chris could have a field day with us regarding his area of expertise. Stage, exactly. Stage press. What's the what are the stage terms? Being on your mark and upstage and all those other terms that are specific.
Tony knows all about upstage.
Of course, upstage. But when you know about these things, you kind of have to hold back when people ask obvious questions because to them it's not obvious at all.
And an old truck, yeah, absolutely. Like, I wasn't making fun of him whatsoever. Although he did call me an a-hole in the text when I was like, "This is so going to be an episode." He goes, "Thanks, a-hole." My original radio show in Los Angeles was with a guy named James Harris, who's a very funny comedian, and he knew nothing about cars. Nothing. And people are like, why do you have him on this car show?
Yeah.
I go, because he knows nothing about cars.
It's actually a good thing.
And he would just comment on things, and he was really funny. But we did a segment called, what does James Harris know about cars? And people would call in. It was a live show every Saturday from 3 to 4 on 97.1, the FM talk station. And they would ask questions. And we would say, okay, does James know the answer? And then you had to guess, yes or no. Does he know the answer? And one guy, I said, will James know the answer? And the guy goes, of course he will. I go, why do you think that? He goes, because he's an effing car guy, but he didn't say effing. He swore, and we're on broadcast radio.
Oh dear.
So I'm looking over to the booth, and they're talking. I'm like, there's a dump button here somewhere. And boom, and I hit the dump button and got out of it. But it was, it was pretty insane. And this isn't isn't an obvious question for me, but who the hell is Tony? So we keep talking about Tony.
That's right. We should probably clarify.
So we have a sitcom that I've been writing forever, and we filmed it last fall. We have Rick Springfield, the famous musician, playing my rock star father. And I've got a guy named Chris Soldevilla, who is an actor, local. He's been in a few movies, came up from Hollywood.
Yep.
And he plays my best friend, Eric, who in real life, my best friend's name is Eric. And I have a coworker named Tony. Tony is, and Raffi knocked it out of the park when we did our table read with this character that he came up with that is so similar to the real character that I based it on, because I told Raffi the story of Tony, and he just said, I got the guy.
I know guy. I know him. It's very easy to do. I do him.
Yes.
He's conglomeration of people I know growing up, people I work with, people I hear all the time, and of course, pretty much every salesperson you meet on sales lot, used car sales lot. Very seldom new car, but
Tony was at La Brea Chevrolet. I mean, that's where, and it was called the phone way we'd answer the phone is, it's a great day at La Brea Chevrolet.
It's a great day at La Brea Chevrolet.
See, that rhymes. That we used it for the show. We used It's a Great Day at Lenny's Super Mega Autoplex. We wanted to make it ridiculously stupid name of a dealership.
Super Mega.
So that's the story. We're doing a screening again. I've mentioned it. It's at the Roxy in Bremerton. If you go to eventbrite.com, you can get free tickets. I'll post a link.
It's a little far for folks from Ireland to attend, but eventually we'll have international distribution.
Yes, Janice is right. He smells like an old Plymouth.
Nothing wrong with old Plymouth, mind you. It's a very good car.
Well, we had to pick a car that's no longer made.
That's right. It's important. That way people not associate shame.
It is a bit out of your way. Hopefully we'll get on a streaming service that's available in Ireland.
Yeah.
You have Netflix in Ireland or Amazon
sure
Prime? I know they don't have Hulu. I'm pretty sure they don't. It's called something else over there.
They probably do have different names, but their streaming services are pretty much global as far as I'm aware. There's some restrictions on where they are, but streaming has become really important, not just for entertainment, but there's a whole sub-industry of product placement in streaming as well. So if we get a sponsor for our show, the Super Mega Autoplex could be a Lexus dealership. You never know.
Yeah. Chris was just asking that the license department isn't open until Tuesday, so is he good till then? It's like, you're the seller. You don't have to do anything.
That's right.
You can go online and report the sale.
Yep.
But that's all you have to do.
Yeah. Because Monday is a holiday.
Correct. Norn Iron 01 is Norn.
Norn.
We have to find, what is your actual name? If you
that would be helpful.
Is
well, maybe
Norm?
he doesn't want
Norn?
to give his name. He could be the prime minister.
Yeah, this is the Prime Minister of Ireland writing to us. I can't say, but he had a timing belt go out in the middle of Dublin on a Friday rush hour.
Yeah, that's not a good situation because look, once your timing belt goes, you're basically done. There's no limping it to the side of the road. You put it in neutral and you push that car off to wherever you can. But in the middle of rush hour, you got people honking at you. And there's nothing you can do. And it's really funny whenever a car breaks down on the highway or in the middle of a busy road, you'd think that people would have some sympathy. You'd think people would go, geez, that could be me at any time. But no, they're honking. Oh, look at this idiot. They're going around him. Nobody's getting out to help this person. But yeah.
Yeah, if it's an interference engine, it's very bad.
Yes. And what Dan's pointing out there is what we talked about, we alluded to earlier. If your engine is designed and it's what they call an interference engine, and you lose your belt, you are done. It'll take the valve train, it'll take the valves, it's all over. The engine needs a complete rebuild, if it can be rebuilt at all. So that's bad. Now, most contemporary 4-cylinder engines are non-interference engines. So you can lose that timing belt and the system, the entire drivetrain will not go with it.
Right.
But but he is right. It is especially bad. It's what they refer to as catastrophic engine failure.
Oh, and we have the answer on the streaming services in Ireland. It's Netflix and Amazon O Prime.
Yes, but that's pretty much what I thought as well. There you go.
Now, it's when we're talking about inline engines.
Yes.
The way I used to describe it was they don't make V4s in cars.
Yes, they do. But go on.
Do you make V4s?
Yes, they do.
In current cars?
They make V4. The last V4 was for Lancia, and Lancia had a V4 dual overhead cam engine, which I believe was done in I want to say the early 80s, late 70s. And I'd have to do a little bit more. There was a V, let's see. There are a couple of 3-cylinder engines Saab had, and I think the configuration was V. Let's see. There have been, of course, there's a V2. That's a Harley Davidson, the Harley Davidson engine. And there are even radial engines that are used in airplanes and tanks. So there's a number of different configurations, including a W engine, which I believe is the engine in the Bugatti, the Veyron. Maybe even the Chiron has the same engine. I'm not sure.
But you never have an odd number when you have a V, but you could have an odd number when you have an inline, because you can have an inline 3, 4, 5.
And it has to do with balance because of the harmonic motions that are built up in syncopation of the engine.
Syncopation. Here we go.
It's very complicated. The pistons have to move up and down, and they have to create moments of combustion and pause in the rotation. Now, a Wankel engine, which is the rotary engine, has a different set of pistons. They're not piston at all. They're chambered shapes that move, rounded triangular shapes that move inside the combustion chambers with a different series of combustion action. But you are right that the even number of pistons tends to make the smoothest series of combustion. The inline engine, the inline 6 engine, was quite good because it offered high torque and a good use or good horsepower for the number of cylinders. And they were very popular in trucks because they were very robust, good, heavy-sized, big pistons. And so they put out a lot of torque and did not run a lot of wear. So the General Motors developed probably the best and most efficient V8 engine. And that basic engine design is the engine that continues to be the performance V8 engine that's still used today.
Yeah, my Pontiac Catalina, it's a classic Pontiac.
Yes, it is.
It was my mom's. It was my first and only car. It wasn't really my mom's, but it's got the 305
yes
V8, which, there's some performance upgrades you can do to that particular engine and make it a pretty good. It's a 4.9 liter, I'm pretty sure.
That sounds about right. The most common General Motors engine is the 350. It's 350 cubic inches, and that has the most amount of performance componentry that you can buy. It is the cheapest V8 performance engine on a bang per horsepower buck. It is the motor that you want. If you were to put a performance engine into your car, you'd be better off removing the 305 and just getting what's called a crate motor. A 350
ship it in a crate.
They ship it in a crate, and it's literally ready to go. You take the old one out, you put the new one in. So it comes with all the components, the alternator, the starter, the everything. It's literally ready to go. And these crate motors, you can get a 350 horsepower, 400 horsepower, 425 horsepower, and and they drop in and they're ready to go. Now your transmission, your automatic transmission for the 305, it should be the same transmission that's suitable for even the larger motors. But that's what you do. In fact, that's what the Monte Carlo was.
Right.
We had that was a crate motored 350.
And that thing had some serious power.
Yes, it did.
And now the 350, if I'm not mistaken, is a 5.7 liter.
You are correct.
I remember the litras.
Yes, and then you get up to the 400 engine, which is a 6.6 liter engine, and then higher and higher designation.
The VW did a one-off W12 Golf, which I'm pretty sure they did. That was the same as the Audi did a W12.
Yes, and VW, I believe they still own Bugatti. So that engine is a VW engine, although I think the Bugatti, the Veyron, has the W16. I believe it has the 16. I think that's what it is. I'm not up on my Bugatti technology for modern supercars, but last I checked, the engine and drivetrain system on that Bugatti was it's insane.
Well, speaking of Volkswagens and speaking of insane, we do have a car of the week from our good friend Ray Pepper.
Oh, excellent.
So let's hit this one real quick. All right.
What do we got?
All right. I didn't open it yet. Hold on. You have to actually show the picture. There it is. Here we go. Look at that.
Oh, there you go.
And it's right beside his Rare 05. Look at that. He even got the plate for Rare 05 for his Spider.
There you go. This is Jetta.
I would think so. It looks like a Jetta. Doesn't look like it's a Passat. It looks too small for Passat.
It's an 04.
It's actually an 01.
Oh, okay.
I think 01 is the year they had two body styles. I think it was a mid-year body style upgrade. It might be 2000. I just remember there was a newer version and the older, and then it was the same look for probably through 07 or so. But this is an 01, 160,000 miles.
Not bad.
It's got the engine and the stick shift that people love.
Sunroof.
It's got the sunroof. And then Ray says, of course, runs as smooth as butter.
Of course.
And the heated leather seats melt your ass.
It's like butter. I'm telling you.
Ray is a wordsmith when it comes to these.
Heated seats. Heated seats are quite nice. I recommend them.
I want you to show the engine. All right, I'll get there. Hold on.
Looks like they're the upgraded wheels too, which is nice. And look, with 160,000 miles, there's probably another 40 to 60,000 miles remaining on that car that you can enjoy without having to spend a lot of money. These cars will do 200,000 miles without any problem at all.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah, very nice.
Look how neat the wires are.
Yeah, excellent condition. And you see the emblem on there. What does that say, Dan?
Volkswagen.
Well, yes, but the engine number.
Oh, VR6.
VR6. So you have the performance version of the 6-cylinder, which is the V. It is a V6. And
transverse. It is transverse.
Yes. And what Ray alluded to earlier is that that's the engine that everybody wants in that car. That's the performance, Volkswagen's performance engine. And this car's got a little bit of spirit to it. You get on that, especially if it's a manual and not an automatic, you get on that car and it'll perform very well. These cars, you can chip them, which means you'll get a performance chip to replace in the engine management.
Why chip it? You can pick it up local.
Yeah.
Oh, you said chip. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so you chip that. Oh, it looks like it is a manual.
Oh yeah, it's a manual.
And that's a great car. And you can up the performance by 25%. You'll get a little bit more power out of it. And these cars are great. Young people love them. Like Ray says, the VR6. And six, is it 5 or 6 speed? I'm thinking it's probably 5 speed for that era.
I think 5-speed.
But 5-speed manual with the VR6, this will sell very well. It'll do very, very well. That's a nice car of the week. Thank you, Ray.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's a 5-speed.
Yeah. Looks like leather interior, sunroof.
Yeah.
Probably has a nice stereo system. And the leather seats look like they're in pretty good shape. They typically get what's called bolster wear on the driver's side, driver's seat.
That's from ass cheek wear.
Yes. Norn says, I drove a VR6 Corrado once, almost killed myself. Still worth it, though. The Corrado is a great little car. The Corrado replaced the Scirocco, which was the earlier, boxier Volkswagen sport version of the Rabbit or Golf. And the Corrado was only made for a few years, not as long as the Scirocco, but with that VR6 engine, fantastic performance car.
The Scirocco was designed by our favorite designer.
Yes, Giorgetto Giugiaro, designer of the century.
Yes. Okay, yeah. I take that back. My second favorite.
Your second favorite. Thank you. I guess I'm your first.
Oh, no, Bob Lutz. Was he a designer? I had to pull out a name.
Bob Lutz is not a designer, but he's well known for having inspired a lot of important designs at General Motors. There's the Corrado. And the Corrado could certainly be a great old school car because they made quite a few of them when they were in production, but not for a very long time. So they're sought after, particularly the sportier versions, the VR6 one. They did a convertible, but I don't think it was a production car available in the United States.
Look at this guy.
Yeah, he's very
He's checking
excited.
that car out.
Yeah,
it's a little
very excited.
It's a little. Is he mad at the car? He's got a little disdain.
It looks like he could be mad at the car.
How dare you?
They also came in great 90s and early 2000s colors. You don't see these colors anymore on contemporary cars. They have bright yellow. Look at him. He's being judgmental.
People.
Yeah. And I think that, wait, go back to that shot. You see the tan car in the background? That looks like an Aston Martin four-door in the background with the V12 engine. Just a long shot there. But anyway, back to the Volkswagen, the Corrado, and the V6. That Ray's car of the year, we didn't land on a price. Ray, do we have a price for a car of the year? Car of the week?
He said that's German smiling. Is what said that.
Yeah, this is very good. I like this cars very much.
That picture's from 1988 or 89.
Yeah, this is
35 years ago. So that guy is now, what's in that picture? 35, 40? He's like in his 70s now.
Yeah, he's in German retirement home now.
He's in the bunker.
Yes.
You know what they call it? German retirement homes. Yeah, Ray, we need a price.
Yeah.
Make an offer.
Make an offer.
It's okay. Insult me. I live my life in. All right, Ray, bring that to the Bremerton screening on Wednesday night, and we'll try to sell it for you.
Yeah, we'll announce it. We got Ray's car of the week here today. That's Ray over there. Ray, take your hand out of your popcorn bag and say hello to the audience.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see Ray in person.
There you go. Well, you know what we ought to do? It's a good segue into old school, and I'll do an old school segment.
Here we go.
All right, it's that time again for old school. And this time, we're going to take off to another part of the world where you wouldn't expect necessarily to get a performance car. Excuse me.
Lithuania.
Not quite. Now, many people are very familiar with the safety and reliability of the Volvo. Volvo's made some fantastic cars over the years, but one of the cars that people are not necessarily familiar with is the Volvo P1800. The P1800 was made from 1961 to 1973. And Volvo was experimenting at that time with making a performance coupe that could meet some of the opportunities, the sales opportunities in North America. In order to get North American expansion, Volvo needed to offer a car to folks that were interested in a small, sporty, performance-based car. So it got the Volvo four-cylinder engine, but they put twin carburetors on it and gave it unique and exciting styling, which was very successful. And the Volvo P1800 became quite popular in North America, so popular, in fact, that a gentleman bought one brand new and used it as his regular daily driving vehicle, doing sales calls all over the western part of the United States, and eventually put, wait for it, 3.2 million miles on his Volvo P1800. The car still holds the record for the most miles ever driven in a single car and the most miles ever driven by a single individual. There's the photo of him with the car. Now, sadly, the gentleman passed away, but he did leave the car to Volvo, and I believe the vehicle is in the Volvo Museum to this day. In addition to the fact that that car went that distance, which is astonishing, he kept very good track of everything, including thousands of oil changes, hundreds of tire changes, various engine maintenance and service, but the car essentially remained as the original body, original finishes, all of those things, and racked up 3.2 million miles. Now, you wouldn't ever buy a Volvo P1800 today and consider driving that many miles. However, many of them are out there today at reasonable prices. You can buy one that will be worthy of restoration, and you can do the restoration work yourself, or you can hire a company to do it for you. You can get a restorable one for probably within the $4,000 to $8,000 range, and then you can spend your hobby time and money restoring it yourself, or you can buy a restored one for around $25,000 to $30,000. And a very, very nicely restored one will set you back probably about $40,000 to $50,000. Now, interestingly enough, the earliest series P1800s were manufactured by Jensen, and Jensen was a British automobile manufacturing entity that built cars and car bodies, oftentimes on contract for other companies, much like Karmann did for the Karmann Ghia with Volkswagen. Dan's showing one here that looks like it could use a complete restoration, but probably would be a fairly complete car. Doesn't look like it has a lot of rust on it. You're going to need pretty much everything, but it's got some rocker panel rust there. What's the price on this one, Dan?
What would you guess?
I think
It's
if that car
66, and it's in Olympia, Washington.
I think if that car isn't running, this is going to need a complete restoration. My guess is this shouldn't be more than $1,500.
They're asking $3,250.
That's a lot of money for this car. Now, it is complete, and the various components on it appear to be okay, but you'd be hard pressed to pay that money for that car. You'd be better off buying one that is running and still might need restoration or need cosmetic improvements, and spending the $8,000 to $10,000 up front to do that, because this one will take you every bit of $50,000 to get to a really nice restored one.
Yes. Now this one is somebody looking for Volvos.
This is someone looking for them. Yep. And they are out there. They've become much more popular recently because people have come to realize that if you're looking for a durable, fun, and inexpensive sports car from that era, the P1800 is really, for all intents and purposes, kind of underpriced compared to other cars from that period. You compare it to a Porsche, for example. You compare it to a Lotus. You compare it to lots of other two-seat sport cars from that period, and it's still an underpriced opportunity.
Now there is also Norm makes a good point. Yes, Roger Moore drove one in The Saint, the TV show The Saint. Before
That's
he was
right.
James Bond, he was The Saint. That was his car.
Yep.
And you can also buy, and I think we talked about these once before, buy a brand new one.
Yes. Now these are a completely different ball game. These cars have been significantly modified and highly refined to modern specifications, and they're beautifully done. But they're a complete different beast altogether. These, I think, are, I want to say, the base model version of this, if you had one made for them to your specifications. I want to say that these are 180 to 225, and they will do them to your specifications. You can have it done if you want it to be completely stock looking, and then have them do the drivetrain modifications to it. They can do that as well. But these are great. Companies are doing more and more of this type of build, sort of restifying cars, combination of restoring and modifying, where they're enhancing the total overall driving experience by updating the cars but keeping a vintage flair to them. Yeah. There's a company that does that with Ferraris. They've got a vintage Ferrari that they're doing, but you'll have to loosen up $1.8 million to get one of those modern, restified, vintage-looking Ferraris.
Let me go dig in my sofa cushions and see if I can find a little spare change to buy that.
Yeah. There you go. So that's our old school, the Volvo P1800.
Very nice. I do love those cars.
Yeah. And I think within the next 2 to 3 years, we'll see one sell for close to 6 figures.
Very interesting. Now, I don't think we saw Adam today.
No, that's unusual. Usually he's here with us. And, you know, I know one of Adam's favorite sequences in this show is gas prices.
And yes, so here, speaking of gas prices,
how much is gas where you live?
How much is gas where you live?
The gas is down overall. Who's got the lowest though, Raffi?
Gas is down overall. I'll go with the lowest. Let's see. I'll go with Mississippi.
Oh, so close.
They number
1
2?
penny off.
Oh.
At 3019, Texas is the lowest.
Texas right at $3.01 a gallon.
Yes.
That's quite low. I'm going to say that may be, it's certainly the lowest this year. I don't recall it being that low this year, but it may even be one of the lows from last year as well.
Who has the lowest diesel?
The lowest diesel.
I'll tell you, it's not Texas. Texas is at 401 for their $1 more for diesel.
Lowest diesel, I'll go with Nebraska.
Oh, no. Oklahoma.
Okay.
Nebraska's at 414. Oklahoma's at 388.
388 for diesel. Again, we've had this conversation before. Why is diesel more than regular gas when it's less to refine?
Well, they have had Jake was screaming, "Oh, Oklahoma!" Then he said it again, "Oh, Oklahoma!" I think he's doing some Broadway shows.
That's where the wind comes sweeping down the plains.
It does. It does. Yes. And we do show tunes here too. I mean, we do everything.
And it's odd that we know the lyrics to those show tunes.
You know, you said we. You're the one that knew it.
I was speaking the royal we.
In the Washington area, gas has gone up a little bit.
Yes, it has.
The average yesterday was 416.9, and today it's 418.2.
418.2.
Yes. Now diesel's gone down a penny in the same amount of time. Diesel's averaging 503.
Well, we drove past the Safeway gas station yesterday, and it was 379. But the Texaco on the tribal Texaco Yeah, those are over 4. So it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. That
So-
used to be the cheapest place to buy gas.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Of course, Jake keeps defending the diesel. More power is worth more money.
Yes, that's
Here we
true.
go down this rabbit hole again.
That is true. It is more torque, and torque is what you want for pulling. And so if you have a commercial vehicle, or you have a vehicle that you do a lot of towing or a lot of hauling of things, then diesel is the way to go for what you need. If you have a gas burning vehicle and you do a lot of towing and hauling with it, your mileage will reduce. So technically, Jake is correct. Your performance overall will be better because you'll be getting more actual hauling. How do we say it? Hauling efficiency is what you're going to get with a diesel powered vehicle.
Now, Jake says, I'm the consumer in the situation. I pay more for diesel because it's more powerful. Now, you pay more for diesel because they charge more for diesel. It used to always be way, way cheaper.
Yeah, the point Jake is making, which is correct, is the efficiency that diesel offers for hauling. If he's pulling 10,000 pounds and you've got side by side a gas burner and a diesel burner, and you're going the same distance pulling 10,000 on 1 gallon of regular fuel, the vehicle with gas is going to not go as far as the vehicle with diesel because the diesel engine offers more torque and more pulling capacity at a more volumetrically efficient rate of consumption than the gas burner. So he's right on that account. Now, where that price differential occurs relative to volumetric efficiency for each of the 2 engines, we don't know. It may be at that point right now, with diesel being 60 cents more per gallon than regular fuel. But a lot of those things are quite variable depending on driving conditions. Is he going uphill a lot? How much does the weight change in terms of the hauling? Exactly.
Dan wants how fast he wants to go. It's not about speed. It's about ease of pulling an 11,000 trailer with diesel, which is exactly what Raffi just explained. And let's never talk about this again.
We can always shine the brighter Corvette object at Jake.
Corvette?
Yes, exactly. Jake sent us some text this morning with Corvettes.
Excuse me.
Bless you, Dan. And there are quite a few Corvettes out there. There's always a great assortment of Corvettes. We could have a whole separate section. We could have Jake's pickup sponsor it, and we could do a whole separate section. We call it Jake's Corvettes, and just talk about Corvettes for 10 or 15 minutes.
Let's talk Jake's Corvettes.
There you go. Thank you, Prince.
There we go.
The
Oklahoma. Sorry.
And Corvette is still doing some really interesting market studies on the viability of expanding their brand and having it be a separate entity from the Chevrolet division so that they can, wait for it, make a Corvette SUV. This is a distinct possibility. And they realize the value of it simply because everyone else is making an SUV. Porsche making an SUV, Ferrari, Lamborghini,
Chevrolet.
Yes. And so they've got the equipment. Why not just take one and brand it as a Corvette? It's certainly a viable opportunity for people that want Corvette performance and styling in an SUV package.
And they could do what Porsche did, and they could have a 4-door Corvette. They could have an SUV Corvette.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at Ford. Ford has the Mustang SUV, and they have the Mustang. So,
yeah, but they don't have an electric Mustang coupe yet.
They will.
They probably will soon.
They will have an electric Mustang. In fact, almost all car companies will eventually platform engineer for electric vehicles. But that's a whole other conversation. We could have a whole other show about the future of automobiles and automobile design and the value on a battery per performance basis, the value of electric cars as the future.
There you go. And with that, it's 11 o'clock somehow.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the link to the free tickets in the comments of everywhere that'll take it. But it's through Eventbrite. They're free. It's Wednesday night, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. There will be the director. A lot of the crew will be there.
I'll be there.
Raffi will be there. I think Chris will be there.
Oh, great.
Chris will be there.
Yeah.
We might have to load everybody into the Pontiac. We might try to take the Pontiac. Is that scary to drive the Pontiac all the way up there?
I've never been that far in the Pontiac.
Neither have I.
We should probably not take the Pontiac.
Maybe we should take the Fiero.
Is it dried out in there?
No. Ray, it's a movie theater.
Dress casual or dress.
Dress like you always do. The John Fetterman.
Dress casual, Ray.
Wear your hoodie.
Yeah.
It's totally free. Bring as many people as you want. I know Ray works with a lot of guys in Bremerton at Affordable Auto.
Yeah.
Ray's dealership's located there now. That's where he parks his license. So bring everybody.
And it's auto related too.
It is. It takes place in an auto dealership. That's why it's called It's a Lot. It's a car lot.
All right.
It's filmed in Paulsbo.
Yeah, there you go.
So we're keeping it local. All right, that's it for this week. We'll see you next week. Drive safe.